All right. Week 6 done. We move on to week 7 tomorrow. Let's go through the scores. Carbs beat me 150 to 103. Matt beat Rusty 113 107. Gaddy, high score of the week, 156, Ted 124. Reed beat Bobby 139 to 83. Brad beat Tyler 103 to 96. And then Duels beat Sidnam 86 to 76. So that's your recap from week 6. As usual, we start from the bottom, and Bobby continues to be at the 12 spot. Again, we know the situation with Bobby's team. Malik Neighbors hasn't played the last 2 weeks due to the concussion. Marvin Harrison may be out with the concussion now. You saw some good things from Ray Davis on Monday Night Football, but the reality is we know where Bobby's team is headed, and it's heading in the right direction, but it's not. It's probably not for this year. I'm moving Sidnam to 11. I know this has been a big drop, and he was at 7 last week, but face the facts. He scored the least amount of points in the league so far, and he's 4th in points against, least amount of points scored against him. And I just don't see where the team has any potential to really make any noise for a championship or even make a noise for a true playoff. Burrow's been great, but, how good is Zach Moss? You've got nothing from Ridley. You've gotten nothing from guys like Rachaad White, who's had a bad year. Ezekiel Elliott, thought maybe you get more from him. He's not. I don't know. The more I think about it, I just think even though he's 3-3, there's some teams that are 2-4 that I think are just better. I think those teams are in better situation to maybe even make the playoffs or maybe make that jump into the top 3. They have a better chance of making it further into the playoffs. Just what I've seen. I need to see more from Sidnam's team if he's going to make it up the power rankings. Brad at 10. Goff's been good. Goff's been really good the last couple of weeks. You would expect that with that high-powered Detroit offense. But no Nico Collins for a while, no McCaffrey. It's just going to be tough. Can Mark Andrews give you anything? I mean, he had a good game last week, but has really done nothing so far. So that's going to be the theme with Brad is like, okay, can he get those guys back? And if McCaffrey and Collins are back, then I can maybe see Brad's team making a run. But if he doesn't have those guys, it's going to be tough. Rusty at 9, I know he wants me to trash him for the trade, but I don't think it's a bad trade for either side. Number one, Rusty had too many receivers. He didn't, he has McLaurin. He's got Tyreek Hill. He's got T. Higgins. You can't start 4 receivers. So the idea of trading one to get a first-round pick and getting a young running back, potentially an Estime, is not a bad deal. And me getting Deebo Samuel, I think it improves my receiver room. With Cooper going to Buffalo and also having Kincaid, and then Olave have a concussion, so he's out for a little bit. Having that reassurance at wide receiver, I think it helps. Deebo had a really good game last week against the Seahawks. As long as he's healthy, I think he's a stud. So in the end, I think it's a good trade for both sides. I do. I'm not going to bash Rusty at all because he has got 4 really good receivers where he can't play 4 receivers. So, but listen. Taylor coming back, the team doesn't look too bad. If, God forbid, Tua comes back, that really would improve Tyreek's value. I mean, it sucks that he hasn't been able to come back. Obviously, hope he's okay. But I'm keeping Rusty at 9. But, again, he wants me to trash the trade. He wants to tell me how bad it was. I thought it was a fair trade. I thought it was good value on both sides. I'm sticking with that mantra. Dooley at 8, had a bad week this week, but let's be fair. There's been weeks where he's put up a ton of points and then lost. So this feels good for, hey, you put up 86 points. It wasn't the best week, but you come away with a victory. You get Pacheco back, things could be good. I love the Jaden Reed and Jamar Chase combo. I think Jaden Reed is going to be I think he's the Packers' number 1 receiver. And the way Jordan Love's throwing the football right now, he's going to be a real big fantasy threat. So I'm a big fan of what Jaden Reed has brought to that Packers offense. Matt at 7. Back-to-back wins for Matt. And, again, 2-4. He has the most points scored out of anybody that I've already said. And he has the most points against by like 100. So, you cut that number in 100 points, maybe Matt's 3-3, maybe even 4-2 in some situations. But listen, with Garrett Wilson, what's his situation now with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers? Now, teaming up. I think it's going to take a little bit for Adams to get into, into the offense. I don't think it's going to happen right away, although I don't think it's going to take too long. I don't think this is going to hurt Wilson that much. I really don't. I think maybe he sees less targets, but he's not going to have to face the number one corners. That's going to be Adams. He's going to have less pressure on him, and I still think Rodgers is going to find him the football. He's too good of a receiver to not get the ball. So I don't think this diminishes Garrett Wilson's value that much, honestly. Maybe a little bit because Rodgers and Davante Adams are gay for each other. I mean, the fact that Adams was already in his room when he did the interview with McAfee was a little weird. A little too quick. But Matt at 7. Ted at 6. Tough loss to Gaddy, put up a $124. But you have A.J. Brown back for the first time, caught a touchdown pass. So, again, Ted could start getting those reinforcements back. I think it could be, he's going to be right there in the thick of things in the playoff hunt and even into, into a bye week, potentially. But I think Ted's right there for the playoff hunt, and I think he's securely right now at the 6th spot. I'm moving Tyler down to 5. I know Tyler has been at the 2 and the 3, but let's be real. That's back-to-back losses. You're at 3-3. I know it was a tough loss to Brad last 2 weeks. Putting up low numbers. It's the highs and the lows. When it's up, and Tyler's team can really put up a ton of points. This was kind of my fear. It was like, all right, it's going to be sometimes bad. It's going to be really good. There isn't as much consistency. But listen, the team's still very strong. Derrick Henry having a phenomenal season. Who's going to start a quarterback? Is it Dak Prescott? Is it Anthony Richardson? Who are you going to roll with at quarterback long term? I think Saquon comes back this week and has a revenge game against the Giants. And listen, with no Collins, Diggs has stepped up and played pretty well. But you can start him and Tank Dell, so that gets a little tricky. But I still think, despite everything, I still think Tyler's team is one of the best. But last 2 weeks, losing, going to 3-3, I had to put him at 5. Carbs at 4, moving into the top 4. Big win last week against me. Montgomery, despite having the share, him and Gibbs have been awesome, but you can argue Montgomery's been the better fantasy option this year with the amount of touchdowns that he's getting at the goal line and, being able to, he kind of is that first quarterback for Detroit in that situation. So, Drake London's really stepped it up too. And God forbid if Jalen Waddle can come back and, well, not come back, but, I'm talking like Tua come back and really inflate his value there. But Carbs moving to the top 4 for the first time this season, so it's well-deserved, though. Reed at 3. Big week this week. Big week last week with 139 points. Breece Hall had a good game. First time in a couple weeks, Breece Hall's had a good game. And, Puka Nacua on his way back. So I think that could really, with him and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Hurts, I think his team's in excellent shape with the way it is. I'm at 2. I think the Deebo trade does help me for this year. And it's going to be decided between me and Reed. We play each other this week, so that's going to be a big matchup. Third in points 4. Olave getting hurt is bad, but I get Kyron Williams back this week, who's been a stud. So I feel good about the team moving forward. And obviously, there's no surprise here. Gaddy's still at number 1. 5-1 on the year. Only team with 5 wins. Has the most points scored in the league. And he has the deepest team at receiver and running back. And I don't think that's even debatable at this point. With Alvin Kamara and Bijan. You can just go down the line. Gaddy's team's loaded. Zay Flowers, who's on the bench, had a phenomenal week. He's had a phenomenal year with Lamar Jackson over there. So Gaddy still remains at number 1 and is the only team now with 5 wins and did have the most points scored last week and has the most points scored in the league so far. Preview of next week's matchups. I kind of teased it already, but I play Reed 2 versus 3. That's a big matchup. Giants versus Eagles this week too. Coincidence? Yeah, it's probably just a coincidence, but that could be a big matchup to see who's, could be firmly at number 2. So Sidnam plays Bobby. So, the bottom of the barrel, it could be, hey, Sidnam loses again. Maybe we're not talking about a new number 12. Gaddy plays Matt. Matt's had a winning streak here. Can he take out the top champ? We'll see what happens there. You got Carbs versus Tyler. Battle of the 4 and 5. Can Tyler get his way back into the top 4? Can Carbs stay in that top 4 spot? Duels versus Ted. Again, battle of the middle of the pack. Can Dooley get it going back and get himself maybe into the top 6? Can Ted kind of hold on with his situation? And then Rusty plays Brad. Can Rusty's new, without Debo, is that going to hurt him? But I still think his team's good enough. And with Brad, can he hold off until the other reinforcements come back? So that's our Week 6 preview. We will see you guys next week. Week 7 preview, Week 6 recap.